stands on his passion to assist in strengthening our nation. However, what you may not know, and I did not know, and I feel great to now have come to this, that I did not know him as an avid outdoorsman. I did not know how interested he is in protection of our public lands and the opportunities, the privileges that we have with those lands. And special to CYO and kids and families, parents and their children, I did not know that he was a father of 5, a loving husband, a loving father. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct privilege, honor, to invite up at the podium Mr. Donald Trump Jr. It's all of that that makes it all worth it, guys. You know, it's all of that. Well, first of all, Mark, thank you very much. Amazing guy, amazing friend. Mark and I actually got to spend some time this summer in the Yukon on a hunt. I got a couple of days off the trail. Most of my hunts this year I had to cancel because, frankly, saving the world took a little bit more priority. Normally it would, but saving the free world is it's a big deal. It's something we got to do. But I got invited on a hunt where they were able to raise a lot of money for Mark's foundation, for Shadow Warriors. We were able to raise good 6 figures. And part of the deal was I get to go on the hunt. So I was like, oh, twist my arm. Okay, so we did that, and I actually brought my little man, Donnie the Third. Mark can vouch for him. He went from being mountain squirrel to mountain goat in about a couple of days because this was like a serious wilderness backpack hunt. This wasn't like walk out your backyard, get in a tree stand hunt. We were in the Yukon for 10 days, and that little man went everywhere we went. It's pretty far north, so it gets dark at about 2, 3 a.m. Some mornings we'd get back at 4 a.m. the next day after having left camp, so being gone almost 24 hours, and first thing he'd say is, Dad, don't go out without me in the morning. He wanted to be there. He was a trooper, and it was amazing. So, Sharon, thank you very much for that incredible introduction. I've been a politician for about 2 weeks now, but I don't want to follow that anymore. I want bad speakers. I want to follow bad speakers so that I look good for a change, okay? So thank you very much, and it's amazing that you can do that and that you are so vocal about it. And we do have to protect all law enforcement because they wake up every morning to protect our community. When I see what's happening to them, the stigma that's been put on that community, it's disgusting. So we've been pretty vocal about that. I think it's safe to say I'm fairly confident there's not a single person in law enforcement not voting for us. I could be wrong. Maybe there's someone, but they're crazy. And, we'll see. So thank you for all that you do. It's great to be here. Awesome to be back in Colorado. I have a good personal connection here because not only did I come here all the time growing up, all vacations, and I continue to do that to this day, but I was actually the first graduate of the Wharton School of Finance when my father went to school to come and move to Colorado so I could be a bartender for 1.5 years so I could hunt and fish right out of college. You can imagine how that conversation went with my father. Yeah, that was an interesting one. You're cut off? I was like, okay, we'll figure it out. That said, it was the best almost 2 years of my life. I had a great time. But that's what this is about. When they said, you got to give another stump speech in Colorado, I go, please not another stump speech. They said, you're speaking to young people who are into the outdoors. I said, that I'll do. That I'll do. Because when I talk about whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, shooting, all of the great disciplines of the outdoors, I think about how they affected me growing up. I was fortunate. I was blessed. I had a grandfather who was a blue-collar guy from what was then communist Czechoslovakia. And he didn't have a lot. Obviously
obviously back then you wouldn't have. And he had a lot of conversations though with my father, and he said, you know, what your kids are blessed with, Donald, he's talking to my dad, you know, I see it, it's amazing. You know, the opportunities that they'll have, the education they'll be able to get, but they have to see the other side as well. And so from about the age of 5, I spoke the language fluently, still do, he took me to then communist Czechoslovakia in the early 80s, way before the wall ever fell and all these things was going on. And I was there for 5 or 6 weeks every summer with him, and he said, there's the woods, I'll see you at dark. He taught me how to shoot. You know, there was no hunting for him because he wasn't, you know, in the Communist Party, he wasn't one of the elite there. But he got me into the outdoors and a passion. He taught me how to shoot a bow, he taught me how to fish, taught me woodsmanship. And along the way, as I grew up and got older, you know, I met other people, and you know, I'm one of those guys, I'm not afraid to ask and say, take me out, teach me how to do this. And met so many great mentors along the way. And Bob, when you made the introduction earlier, you're right, it is all about friendship. Because it's the friendships that I made in a hunting camp, or on a fishing trip, in a duck blind. Not so much in a tree stand, it's usually hard to get too many people in there, but yeah, at the campfire afterwards. It's those relationships that have carried me through so much, and it's the outdoors that have got me and kept me out of so much other trouble I would have gotten into growing up. Whether it's, you know, it's kind of hard to get into trouble if you're going to be in a tree stand at 4:30 in the morning, right? You have to go to bed a little bit earlier. You know, but beyond that, the discipline, the patience, the fact that it's not instant gratification, that you actually have to work and pursue those interests to get good at them. You know, I'm a competitive shooter. I reload for umpteen calibers. I travel all over the country doing that as well. All of those traits, I always say, if I can get my kids off a couch and onto a range, off a couch and into a river, away from the TV, away from the video games, and into the field, I'm doing them such a service for life. So I love seeing what you guys are doing here at CYO. That's incredible. I mean, this should be here at every state. You should have something like this in every state, and probably in every county of every state, because if you can teach youth that lesson and get them off the instant gratification of 140 characters or less conversations, you know, at their fingertips, you're doing them a major service for life. And so I applaud you guys for what you're doing here. It's amazing, and we got to keep that going. You know, again, I'm an unlikely guy to be talking about the outdoors. Yeah, I'm from Fifth Avenue, New York City, son of a billionaire. But again, you know, for me, growing up, those lessons that I learned, those experiences that I had, made me fight for this cause. And I've taken a lot of heat for it because, you know, God knows, if you're a conservative, you're an outdoorsman, if you're a hunter, you're, you know, what is it? The devil, the most terrible human being alive, the whole list. But it doesn't matter. And irredeemable, right? That's okay. I own that. I'm good. I'm good with that. But it's all of those things, you know, that we got to fight for. It's worth taking the heat to preserve what I know to be so good and what can be so beneficial for that next generation. So, you know, thank you for allowing me to have this platform. And it's very similar. Me doing that on a much, much smaller scale is why my father's taking this fight on for the country. Just like I didn't need to stand up for the outdoors when the media tries to kill me for being a hunter, but I did. I talked about how conservation is the hunters are the original conservationists. We have the fauna and flora in this country because of those guys. You know, starting at Roosevelt. All of this stuff was there, and I took the fight to them, just like my father, who doesn't need this job. He doesn't. He can do whatever he wants for the rest of his life and enjoy it. He knows what comes with this. But he loves this country. He loves what it stands for. He loves the American dream, and he wants to make sure that he preserves that for everyone. People of all ethnicities, all backgrounds, all age groups. He wants to make sure that exists, because guess what, boys and girls? Politicians aren't going to do that. They're the ones that have put us in this mess. Their decisions have given us a debt that's virtually insurmountable. If you all ran your households like the government has run this country, you'd be living on the streets. And it's time to stop that. It's time to end this mess. I can't blame them entirely. And by the way, I'm a conservative guy, and I know most of you probably are too. But it's a partisan problem. It's actually both sides who've put us in this situation and gotten us in this mess. But you know what? I also can't blame them, because they have no business making trillion-dollar decisions. Most of them have never done this in the real world. They've never created a job. They've never built anything. They've never had people's livelihoods dependent on their actual success. They're playing with your money. It's a nice game. They're part of the system. But when our founding fathers drafted the Constitution, they never envisioned, they had incredible vision, but they never envisioned a political class that would sit and park themselves in D.C. for 40 years, getting rich, having their friends and their buddies get all the contracts in the government, lobbying, the highest level of government. They go and lobby for countries against America's interests. But my father wants to put an end to all of that. Because they forgot about it. That's what we're up against, guys. That's what we're up against. But we have a unique opportunity here. For the first time in most of our lives, certainly mine, and probably the first time and the last time in the foreseeable future, we have the opportunity to put someone in D.C. who has the guts to take on that system, who is not part of that system, who isn't part of the problem that got us into this situation. I said, my father didn't need this. He knows what comes with it, but he wants to do it. He wants to put the experience that he's learned running businesses, creating jobs, fixing things into this. And we have the opportunity to finally break up that DC cartel. But a lot of people in the future, they're not going to do that. They're not going to leave the private sector with a great life to take that kind of heat. Right? This is my father's way of being able to give back to this country, to be able to serve this country. Because it takes a unique character to want to be able to do this, to want to take this on, to go up against, I think it's fair to say, the most corrupt candidate in the history of the presidency. What are we saying to our children, and what are we saying to politicians if we give Hillary Clinton the White House? Think about it. We're basically saying it's okay to have decades of graft, theft, abuse, pay to play. You know, you saw it. This election from day one, was about change. That's why Bernie Sanders did so well in so many states. Now, we know he was cheated. We see that in documents. The head of the DNC, who also worked at CNN, the Clinton News Network, was passing the questions for the debate onto Hillary's team. So she knew what was coming. If she was an athlete, if she was in the Olympics, she'd be disqualified. They'd take away the gold medal if she won. But that's okay. She lost her job at CNN, but she still works for the DNC as though nothing happened. Think about what's going on. I don't know what's worse. The fact that so many of these things have happened, or the fact that so few people care. There's no accountability. There's no consequences. It's lie after lie, promise after promise, and guess what? Nothing changes. The politicians, they stay there. Look at what's going on with Obamacare. I know I saw read in Colorado some of these insurance companies want 40-something% increases here. That's not affordable health care. That doesn't include, by the way, your $9,000 deductible, right? You have to get hit by a bus to actually have insurance. You have insurance in name only, okay? Listen, I'm the father of 5 young kids, okay? We're in the doctor's office every week. Everyone who if you have as many kids as I do, you have a lot of, you're always in the doctor's office. I know how that happens now, by the way. My brother bought me a TV. You know, it's hunting season. I'll be in the woods a little bit more. Got new hobbies. It's all good. So I'm done at 5. But think about that. Each time they're in there, it's $500. It's $1,000. Hey, guys, we can't do this. We can't pass this on. Hard-working Americans can't afford that. If you have a $9,000 deductible, like I said, you have to get hit by a bus before you have actual insurance. But you have politicians that will run around there and they'll make a deal for the sake of making a deal. It doesn't have to be a good deal because no one can read it because they're 30,000 pages long. No one knows what's in it. Nancy Pelosi, well, we have to pass it before we can find out what's in it. Are we taking crazy pills? I'm waiting for Ashton Kutcher to jump out of like the TV screen and say, it's ridiculous. that we've had enough. We're sick of the lies. We're sick of watching the American dream be sent abroad to far-off lands. Sheriff, you touched on this. He said it as well as I've ever said it. I'm sick of turning on the TV and saying, and watching these guys, they're supposed to be reporting the news, and they're saying, it's disgraceful, it's racist that we say America first.
No, it's not.
We're spending American taxpayer dollars. They're more concerned about the feelings of people in far-off lands who hate our guts, who hate our freedom, who hate our religion, who would push a button and wipe us off the face of the earth. They're more concerned about those people's feelings than they are about the safety and well-being of Americans, our children, our grandchildren, our loved ones, and that too, they gotta stop. This week, get your ballots in early. Don't chance it for Tuesday. It's a very energetic crowd, so I expect, normally I'd ask people to bring about 1,000 of their closest friends with them to vote. But I'm going to say 1,500 to 2,000 for this crowd. Each, no overlaps. Find your friends here, in the switches, everywhere. Let's get that message to Washington. Okay, let's throw that hand grenade into the swamp of D.C. and drain that swamp. We're not going to get an opportunity like this again. We're not going to get an opportunity like this again to bring that message to D.C. I want to thank you all for being part of the movement. And it is a movement at this point. It's not a campaign. It's a movement. Look at me. This has been what? How long did we organize this? Like less than 24 hours about? Yeah. I'm not even a candidate. Standing room only, in small town Colorado. You know, I'm watching my father speak to 10, 15, 20,000 people 2, 3, 4 times a day. Yeah, and guess what? That's not just the angry person that the media would like you to believe. Because I see it every day in towns like this. And I don't mean at rallies where people are coming to see me and they're already fans or supporters. I mean at the local airport. I mean at a gas station where we're stopping to get a quick bite to eat, between one of 19 events that I'm doing that day. It's the Ethiopian lady, Tom, you're with me today. It's the Ethiopian lady who came here legally, went through the process legally, and a coffee shop today. We were getting coffee this morning. They said, my husband and I voted for your father yesterday. Thank you for doing what you're doing. The media would have you believe that person doesn't exist. But they do. And there's a lot of them. And I see them time and time again. I see the lifelong Democrats that come up to me and say, hey, listen, all over the country, whether they're union or not, we know the union bosses have been paid for. We've been lifelong Democrats for X, Y, Z, and we're voting for your dad because, man, we're sick of the lies. We're sick of the corruption. We're sick of the And by the way, all of that's before the revelations of what's going on with the Clinton Foundation, with the email scandals, time and time again, it's scandal after scandal. No, very few people are even talking about it, but think about what's going on. Hillary Clinton, she's outraged that the emails aren't being released. Hey, you could have released them 3 months ago. Under subpoena, you served that server. It's a lovely Colorado. To be bleached. They took hammers to iPhones. And I don't mean that as a metaphor. They actually took hammers to iPhones to prevent that stuff from getting done. Sheriff, if that happened when you were under investigation, where would you be right now?
Jail.
Oh, yeah. And so would any of you. There should be no more double standards for the political elite. If the political elite, on both sides, the Wall Street elite, the Hollywood elite, and the media elite hate you, you're doing something right. All of those groups have done really well and gotten really rich, while the rest of America hasn't seen an effective pay raise in 20 years. Guess what? Hillary Clinton, ask your friends. I'm sure there may be one of you must have a friend that's supporting Hillary Clinton. Ask her, which policy are they supporting? Her public policy or her private policy? Because they're very different. They're very different. But you know what? I hear about a lifetime of service from the Clintons. And I know a lot of public servants, whether it be the sheriff, whether it be Mark, whether it be dozens of my other friends. They're public servants, but none of them are worth $250 million, amazingly. How did that happen? How did that happen? So if you're asking them which policy they believe in, guess what, guys? It's probably that private policy, because that's how they got rich. Peddling influence, selling out America, selling America's interests. After Bill Clinton gives a speech to the Russians, she sells 20% of U.S. uranium to the Soviets, signed off by the State Department while she's there. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. This is like a movie about a banana republic, but it's happening in our own backyards. But you guys have the ability to stop it. So I want to thank you all for being a part of the movement. I want to thank you all for being in the fight with us, because it's been what, the longest 18 months in the history of 18 months. The most brutal 18 months, it feels like 10 years. You know, but we're there. We got a week left. Get everyone out. 5 days. Get everyone out. Make sure they vote. Make sure their friends vote. Don't sit on the sidelines on this. There's too much at stake. By the way, don't forget about the Supreme Court. Right? For the shooters in the room, don't forget about that. Hillary Clinton made it very clear what she feels about the Second Amendment. She said the Supreme Court got the Heller decision wrong. And while she said whatever she said at the debate, lied again, the Heller decision simply said that you have the right to keep a firearm in your home. It had nothing to do with concealed carry. It had nothing to do with anything else. The right to defend yourself in your home by keeping a firearm there. She said they got that wrong. And that wasn't, you know, I read that decision, you say, oh, this has got to be obvious. It's going to be 9-0.
Hillary is
5-4.
silly.
5-4. And Scalia has since passed away. Think about that. This isn't a 4 or 8 year election. It's a 30 or 40 year election. That's something you don't recover from. We put out a list of judges who are going to follow the Constitution. Not a group of activists who are legislating the state according to the rules. Again, thank you very much. It's been truly humbling to be here. It's been truly humbling to be on the trail and speak to just Americans. We see that glimmer of hope in their eyes. It makes it all worth it. So thank you. It's an honor to be in the fight with all of you. Get out there and get all your friends. All right?